All right, let me set a scene for you. There's this young guy, Jake, super ambitious, working at a cafe, just trying to figure out his path. So he asks this older, well dressed customer for a little bit of advice. And what does he get? The classic: "Your generation is lazy and just wants handouts." Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. Well, that's exactly where this story really kicks off. So there's Jake in the middle of a shift, and he's getting totally shut down by this guy. Let's just call him Mr. Grumpy. Jake's trying to explain, hey, I'm working hard. I'm juggling school and this job. But Mr. Grumpy, he is just not having it. It's this perfect snapshot of the clash between that old school pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality and the, let's be honest, much more complicated world we live in today. And this really breaks down that divide perfectly. On one side, you've got Mr. Grumpy's view. Young people are just lazy and entitled. But the reality? The reality is that people like Jake are juggling more than ever. They're facing a world with challenges and complexities that previous generations just didn't have to deal with in the same way. The path isn't a straight line anymore, and that's something we've got to acknowledge. Okay, but here's where the story gets good. Luckily, another guy in the cafe, an entrepreneur named Mark Tilbury, he overhears this whole exchange. And instead of just shaking his head, he decides to step in. He sits down with Jake later and gives him a real-world playbook. And it all starts with this one absolutely crucial idea. You have to prepare for success before you can actually get it. This is the analogy Mark used, and it's brilliant. Think about it. So many people hear you got to start a business to get rich, and they just dive right in. But jumping in with no real skills, well, that's like trying to chop down a giant redwood tree with an axe that's as dull as a butter knife. You're just going to exhaust yourself and get absolutely nowhere. It's a recipe for failure. So here's the game changer that Mark laid out for Jake. The path that everyone thinks is the right one, just start a business, is actually the wrong path for most people starting out. The real path, the one that builds a rock-solid foundation, is to first get obsessed with mastering a high-income skill. That's how you sharpen your axe. And he wasn't talking about some abstract idea. He meant concrete, valuable skills. Things like video editing, copywriting, closing big sales, or software development. I mean, Mark's own son, Curtis, got really good at video editing. Within a year of graduating, he was making great money. But even more important than the money, that skill got him in the room with people and information he would have never had access to otherwise. This is the number. This is the tangible goal Mark laid out. With a high-income skill, getting to $10,000 a month is a realistic target. And once you hit that number, everything changes. That income is your launch pad. It gives you the capital, the breathing room, and the confidence to take that next giant leap. All right, so let's move on to the second principle. Because once you've sharpened your axe and you're making that money, the game shifts. Mark told Jake, now it's time to make that money start working for you, so you don't have to spend the rest of your life working for it. I love this analogy he used. Just picture it. If you're constantly poking at your investments, moving money around, day trading, you're not being a genius. You're just crumbling your cookies. The real key is to put your money somewhere it can grow and then leave it alone. Now this is the question that probably blew Jake's mind, and it might blow yours too. It just sounds impossible, right? How on earth can a small amount of money, something you might spend on coffee and lunches, turn into a life-changing fortune? Well, the answer is one of the most powerful and most underestimated forces in the universe of finance. And Mark broke the math down for him, just like this. If you take just $250 every single month and put it into a simple, low-cost S&P 500 index fund, historically that's returned about 10% a year. And if you just let it sit there for 40 years, you end up with over $1.5 million. It's not magic, it's just math. It's discipline, it's time. And Mark really hammered this point home for Jake. For a young person, your single greatest superpower is time. Having a long time horizon means you can afford to take calculated risks on investments that have higher growth potential. You literally have decades to recover from any bumps in the market, and that is a massive luxury older investors just don't have. But look, having the skill and having the investment plan, that's only 2/3 of the puzzle. The final piece, and maybe the most important one Mark shared, is your mindset. You have to install the right mental software, or the whole system just won't run properly. This right here is so important. There's this thing in psychology called the Dunning-Kruger effect. The simple version, the less you know about something, the more confident you are that you're an expert. You have to avoid getting stuck on what they call Mount Stupid. that peak of false confidence. Getting rich isn't about luck. It's a skill you can learn, and learning requires humility. Mark's analogy for this was perfect. He said the world is changing faster than ever before. If you stop learning when you graduate, you're trying to operate in today's world on ancient, outdated software. You have to constantly be updating your brain, reading, learning, listening, to stay sharp, spot the opportunities everyone else misses, and avoid those mental viruses like old bad advice. And a huge part of that mental software update comes from who you surround yourself with. Check this out. A recent study found that your social circle has a direct, measurable impact on your finances. For every 10% increase in wealthy friends, people were significantly more likely to invest and save. It's not about using your friends for money. It's about being influenced by their mindset, their habits, and the conversations you're having. So when you put it all together, it's a powerful formula, isn't it? First, you sharpen your axe by mastering a skill. Then, you let your money work for you through patient investing. And you wrap it all in the right mindset. That was the playbook Mark gave Jake. The old advice from Mr. Grumpy, it just doesn't cut it anymore. This is the modern playbook. And that brings us right back to Jake, and really right back to you. That one conversation in a cafe completely changed his future. The world really is yours for the taking. You've got the drive, you've got the ideas, and now you have a much clearer path forward. So don't ever let someone tell you that you can't do it. So after all this, it really just boils down to one simple question. Seeing the playbook laid out so clearly, what is the very first step you're going to take? Are you going to start learning that new skill? Are you going to finally set up that first investment account? Or maybe you'll just start by updating your mental software. The time is now. The choice is yours.